rebuilding confidence, and harmonizing with nature. With over 4 decades of changing lives, your self-discovery archaeologist, get ready to be the best of you with your host, Beverly Zymet.
Welcome to the Beverly Zymet Show, where being the best you has just gotten easier. My guest today is Michelle Burial, and she's calling in from Miami, Florida. Welcome to the show, Michelle.
Thank you very much, Beverly. I really appreciate you having me on your show.
You know, you mentioned a little bit prior to, before we pushed the go button, that you also have a show and you do programs and things around being that best you, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I actually have an online course, and it's called Being the Best You Can Be. And this program runs in 4 modules. So it's a short course to consume, but it has a lot of valuable tips to be able to help you to live more simply, to live without stress, and to live, again, the best life that you can, both physically, mentally, emotionally, and in your spiritual body or your emotional body.
And that is so important. And with you talk about stress, oh my gosh, there's so much stress in our life anyway. And then let's just say the first half of this year, it's been a challenge sometimes for a lot of us, with that stress level, right?
Absolutely, yes. So basically what I do is I give folks some support around those areas of career, home, relationships, even your relationship with yourself. And
which
also,
is key. That's like number one, right?
Exactly. And then, like balancing your emotions so that you could feel again at your best every day, so that you can go out there and, face the world, or right now be at home and be a good, home schooling parent, or to be able to just manage, again, work-life balance with being at home, during the lockdown, and then also, balancing your family life and your family time so that you can manage all those things with the different circumstances going on out there in the world. So until everybody eventually gets, as they say, back to normal, but it'll be a new normal.
Yeah,
and I was talking about that. Normal.
Yeah.
I was talking about that on another show. I was talking about what to expect after the COVID-19, when everybody's actually fully back at work, and what our expectations are going to be with this new normal. So it's definitely going to be a lot less gatherings of people. Like before, we used to be able to go together to parks and things and have picnics and whatnot, but definitely now it's going to be more social distancing and being aware of wearing our masks, our shields, and so forth, to protect ourselves and protect everyone out there, so that really just can stay as safe as possible.
Yeah, we have pros and cons on both of that. It's like anything. We have this duality world, right?
Exactly.
And again, we all have different beliefs and truths and whatever. We talk about the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies, right? And this physical body that we maneuver around in, sometimes we don't take care of it as much as we should, right?
Exactly.
And when we begin to understand, and I think people are starting to get a little more conscientious, shall we say, about what they are putting in their body, what they're doing with their body, because they've had a lot of time to just like figure out what's going on and do something different. So it's all about your immune system. I've been in holistic medicine now for 40 plus years. And when you look at it and you understand the physical body and what it can do, and your immune system, but it also works in that mindset, in that brain power,
Definitely.
Right?
Actually, that's the name of my business. I call it Healing Hearts and Minds, because I work with the mind, because I do hypnosis work and NLP and those types of trainings that I've had. So I help people, as you just said, through their mindset issues, to be able to overcome like the binge eating, and to overcome, that they can't handle stress, or they got diseases like heart disease and problems that are caused because, again, they're either overweight or they're not taking care of themselves physically. So all of that, the underlying cause is mostly in your mind. So
It
a
is. It
lot of
all
it has
begins. It all
a
begins with
connection.
that thought. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
And
So
when you understand that, so, someone mentioned something on one of my shows, and it's like I told him I'm going to steal this. He said the longest journey you're ever going to take is from your mind to your heart,
absolutely, it's
right?
definitely
And
about that connection,
yeah,
right?
and it's interesting. I have a book called The Power Formula, the heart mind
Mm,
connection, right? Because we go into the science of the mind and everything, and how it works, and how the neural pathways and everything flows in through that thought processing, and then into that emotional, body, and
component, right?
yeah.
Absolutely.
So when you understand the emotions and how they're running in that background and what they're doing to impact everything that goes on, in your physical body, right? And your belief systems, and, all of it combined. It's not just one thing. And you start putting together a circle of truth for you that wasn't maybe that truth a year ago, 10 years ago, or when you were
Right,
growing up.
right.
Yeah. And what are you doing to this vessel? How are you keeping it in condition? Because we talked about the immune system, right? The immune system of the physical body and the cellular structure and everything. But when you think about what's the immune system of those thoughts, right? Where is your thinking process going? That stinking thinking, so to speak, right?
Exactly, exactly.
So when you can get the stinky thinking out of the way, it's like you're building a stronger immune system in your thought processing. And you tapped on something there when you said, with that mindset and the stressors, and the binge eatings and all of those things, because of fear. It's all really based on that fear, right?
Right.
And how do you balance that? And how do you prevent that from taking over? And really recognizing what those fears are, so that you can do something about them, so that they're not running on autopilot and just taking over, right?
Absolutely. I also have a book called Seven Elements of Total Health. And in my book, I also address the issues, particularly like using the attitude of gratitude. So using affirmations daily to reset your thoughts, as you said, your stinky thoughts. And then I also use different components. Like I speak to people about relaxation, like mind hacks for sleeping, how to actually relax your body and your mind. So I give them tips throughout the book on different ways, even using breathing, as simple as breath, and how your breath really affects your body, because I'm also certified as a yoga teacher. So I definitely studied a lot about, the anatomy of the body, and also utilizing the power of meditation to relax your mind, so that you really can relax completely in your body, so that you lose all that tension when you really practice like meditation or other forms of prayer and things, or chanting, to relax physically as
Right.
well. So
Anything
those
to
are things that I, tell people in my book, so they can incorporate these 7 principles into their life.
and that's so well needed. And a lot of people say, I don't know how to meditate. I don't know how to meditate. I can't do that. It's like, okay, and there's different ways to learn how to quiet that
Oh,
mind,
absolutely.
right?
There's
You know,
walking ones. It's not always sitting, with a
that's
spine
why I tell
erect
people,
and
it's not this you know.
right,
I
exactly,
mean, you can do
exactly.
that. It kind of adds ambiance and
Absolutely.
everything else. But again, it's sometimes I'll
No,
take people
there's
into the pretend.
walking ones that you could do just actually while you're walking. And as you're just being present, see, that's the thing that people don't get about meditation. It's being present, like not thinking about, oh, I've got to go to the grocery store, I've got to do this errand, and so on. It's about being fully aware and present of your body's feelings inside, and also your surroundings. So if you're walking around, especially outdoors where it's a beautiful day, then you can really tune into, how does the wind feel on your body? How does the air, what does it smell like? I'm fortunate that I do live in Miami near the beach, so I get to breathe in the salt air, and
Yeah,
it's
all those nice
super
ions,
cleansing.
right?
Super cleansing, all those ions, exactly.
Right.
But wherever you are, you can still, notice the smells around you, like make it a full sensory experience. So you're noticing the smells, the sounds of the birds or the animals. Make it a full body, full sensory experience. And that is your meditation. It's as simple as that.
And
It's being
meditation isn't
fully
something,
present in your body.
it's not something
That's
that
it.
you have to just kind of like take
Yeah,
away
you don't
from
have to
yourself
close your
and
eyes.
go over, Yeah, no, you don't. And
Right.
I think a lot
That's
of
what I
people,
want to let people know, that it's easier than you think.
it really
You're
is.
actually
You meditate all the time. You're off there daydreaming.
That's what I wanted to
You're
say.
daydreaming,
Exactly.
right? That's
That's
meditation.
right. That's meditation.
Anytime you're
Exactly.
off in deep thought focus on one thing, you're in a meditation. You're altering
Absolutely.
that vibration.
Your mindset. You're altering your mindset. You're going into that subconscious space, because subconscious means you're in your imagination, like you just said. You're in a different space that takes you away from the everyday world, from the tensions, from the worries, from the fears. So when you're relaxed, fully in your mind and body, that's it. That is basically your meditation practice. You're
Right,
disconnected
exactly.
from the present. So that's
Oh,
really
there's a lot of
why.
people that are disconnected, right?
Well, disconnected meaning, but in a good way, in a disconnected way, not paying attention at all, because then you could get into an accident. But if you're disconnected when it's safe and you're in a safe environment, that you could be fully disconnected from your worries, from your stress, from your fears of what's going to happen,
Well,
then you can actually relax your body and release that tension.
Exactly. One of the key things that you said was becoming aware. And
Awareness, yes.
yeah, and I teach classes on that awareness, because everything for me has a message, right? And I've trained myself on that. So becoming aware of your surroundings and everything that's going on. When you see something out of the ordinary, maybe a different animal crosses your path. What's that animal speaking about? When you're out and everything is, the weather is just kind of nice, a little breeze, and all of a sudden there's this big amount of wind. Oh my gosh, what's the message? Which direction did it come from? How long did it last? Was it, what did it feel like? So when you start really being aware and conscientious of your surroundings, it helps you to start interacting with the world instead of some of those thoughts that can take you into avenues where you don't want to go. And what are these messages? And everyone has an intuitive side about themselves. They might not want to admit it, or they're a little scared about it because they don't understand it.
Exactly.
And we are right now in that awakening. We're moving into the age of Aquarius here, which is really going to be an exciting time period again, right? And so where do we go from here? And
it's a shift. It's a shift. It's a definite shift of, this COVID-19 was definitely put on the brakes to society, slow down, like you said, have more time with yourself, have more time with your loved ones, make use of this time, have quality time.
Yeah,
instead of burying yourself in your electronics, you need to actually have, more one-on-one conversations with your loved ones, and you need to be able to actually, same thing, take time out for yourself, take more me time to develop things within yourself. I know folks that have gone on a diet at this time actually, and focus more on healthier eating. And so they would just change their lifestyle around, and then now they plan to continue it even when they're going back to work full time. So, already making these important changes in your life is a new beginning. It's the shift that we all need to have physically and emotionally, mentally. So that's exactly why this happened, as we call it. You have to think of it in a positive way, definitely.
Oh, you have to flow with it, because it's going to go whether you go with it or not. And
exactly.
And right now,
struggling and screaming, or you go, as you said, with the flow, and you actually embrace it and say, okay, they say when you receive, lemons, what do you do with it? Well, you can make lemonade, or you could just be upset about the fact that you received something that you didn't like. So the whole point is just, again, going back to our mindsets, how we receive things in our lives, how we perceive them, and definitely what your mind perceives, your body believes. So that's a big one that I always repeat, you have to be able to really perceive things through your mind in a different way, focusing your mindset in a way that's positive, so that you too can have a better and stronger immune system to be able to withstand anything that's coming your way. So that way you can just deal and roll with and flow with the happenings as you feel sometimes that are going on around you, but yet it's really all about what's going on within you. And you're really
exactly
how you internalize it and how you're reacting to it. That's really the most important way that you can balance your life. It's really about your reactions and not being reactive, but rather just, being observant. I think that's really
well, that goes back into that awareness, right?
Yes,
and
yes.
how you respond, and if you want to respond differently. But
Exactly.
that autopilot sometimes, it just takes over, and it's like, I don't want to act like this. I don't want to be like this. I don't want this to be, and again,
Well, you're resisting. You're fighting it.
Yeah.
When you resist and you fight it, that's actually when you have that internal conflict. That's also when you're having, that shift is happening anyways, and it's going to happen.
With or without you.
Push you forward along regardless, especially something as massive as we've had now, this big global shift. And so everybody's experiencing it at different levels.
At different levels.
But we're all experiencing it at the same time.
And it all happened like in an instant. That still like blows my mind, and the world's just going on, chaos and everything else, and all of a sudden it just went, and it wasn't just a few places, it was the globe.
No, it's global.
Which was like, wow. It still blows my mind that it was that great of an impact all over the place. But then, it is what is it that you do with yourself, and it is going in. You've got both sides of the fence. You got some people that are just really eating this up and enjoying it and really making some major changes that needed to happen. Nature's making its changes as well because we don't have as much pollution, so there's a lot of shifting there. But again, now you've got the other extreme, again, that duality world. You have a lot more people who aren't making it so well, especially mentally. There's a lot more suicides out there. There's a lot more nervousness, there's a lot more fear, and again, when it's moving past that fear, and it's the fear of the unknown, and
the fear of the unknown, exactly.
Exactly.
But I think that's where we come in. Your show, by listening to it, people can get information and ideas to help them transform themselves in a positive way. And myself, that's what I aim to do by helping people to navigate these changes, because I talk a lot about how I've reinvented myself over the years in different career paths, and helping myself also even emotionally with all the courses that I've taken to transform my mindset and my way of conducting my life, and how I feel about myself and feel about my circumstances has shifted dramatically from 10, 15 years ago. So that's from experience. That's how I can help a lot of people with issues with downsizing and reinventing themselves, and going through divorce and other difficult emotional challenging experiences. So that's what we focus on, is helping people and helping them to be feel better about the changes that they're experiencing and how to manage them better or navigate through them better in a way that they're going to feel like the change was the best thing that could happen to them, instead of feeling like they're being forced to do things that they don't enjoy, or by changing themselves. So it's just a matter of gaining the right perspective on things so that you could manage them better.
And it's all about the journey, and what I've found, because I've been in this industry for so long, that when I started my journey back in 1974, it was around identity. I had really totally lost my identity. I mean, I was the rebel one. I mean, I was always out there in the forefront, and then there came that point in my life where I totally lost my identity, and it pushed me actually to the edge of suicide, because I was not living the life I was supposed to be living. Everything was not going like it was supposed to be. Oh my God, it was like I had 3 kids. They were all under the age of 5. I'm not going through this. I'm not following in my mother's footsteps. She had 11 of us. This isn't my life. I wanted out of Iowa. I'm not I grew up on a farm. That's not my life. I mean, you name it, everything was upside down, right? And my aha moment when I went out to to set things up, so that I could check off the planet, is when I gave God a piece of my mind, which later I found out it really wasn't God I was giving a piece of my mind to. It was myself, and you learn those things over the years. But I started really paying attention. I've always been intuitive, even as a child. I never understood it. And back then, especially in the Midwest, there wasn't anything as far as spiritualism or anything. There was a shrink. So you went and saw him, and then he gave you drugs to zone you out or whatever. Then you had to live with that stigma the rest of your life. Or you went to the nut house. That was it. End of story. Nothing else.
Right. There was no other options at the time.
So, but when I really started paying attention to that voice that I heard all through my childhood, that it was my saving grace, right?
There you
I
go.
didn't know what it was or how it got there, but I followed it. And there was just that segment of my life where my identity was totally gone. And so starting my journey and doing that, and then moving to Denver in 79, and then that was the age where things started movement. Of course, you're in the city, so there's more of that than out in the rural areas of the world, right? And people were starting to explain to me what these techniques that I had, what this intuitiveness really was. When I had an understanding of it, it was like, wow, my world just definitely changed. So, and again, we find ourselves, the journey that we're on, are reaching out to others to share what we went through to help you get beyond that much faster, be able to recognize it. And so over the years, I've actually created a 5-step process. It's called recognize, which we've talked about. Acknowledge, we talked about that battle. So when you recognize the autopilots, but those are your truths. But you're saying, well, no, wait a minute. No, I don't believe that. But you did when you created it. It was relevant. That was your truth. And if you want to stop that conflict and you want to calm down those cells and that subconscious, you acknowledge that that's your truth. Mm-hmm. And when you do, the battle stops.
Right.
And then you can release it. Now you can start to communicate with that subconscious, with that cell memory that's running on autopilot, and have a conversation through the higher self and the subconscious, because they have to communicate for things to function here in the conscious world. And so when you can do that, just acknowledge that it's your truth. It's okay, because then it gives you permission to release it, and now you have a void. And I think this is where most people get stuck, because they have that void. They feel good in the moment, right? And then all of a sudden things start creeping back in. It's like, oh man, this stuff doesn't work, because it always comes back, blah, blah, blah. They forget to replace that void, because energy does not like a void, right?
No, right, exactly.
So that's where you replace it with all your positive affirmations, your I am, your new beliefs, your new truths. And when you do that, then you can accept that as being your truth and your reality, and the cells will embrace it and start that running on autopilot. So that's key. Once you eliminate, replace it with the new beliefs and the truths, and it'll get you farther faster, right?
Yes, that's true. And I actually was told that through yoga, the same thing, the principle is to basically bring in more light to yourselves, bring in more light to your being. And when you bring in more light, the darkness cannot stand being in the light. So the darkness eventually, dissipates or dissolves itself. So if we actually, again, take in more light into our being, meaning, divine light, more love, if you want to call it love, that it's just everywhere, but we need to actually accept it and receive it. Many times we have issues with receiving. We're great givers, and a lot of women are great nurturers, and they're always giving to others and being loving with, their families and their friends and their children. But very often for women specifically, I've noticed is that they're not very good at receiving. They have a hard time with receiving compliments like, oh no, this is old. Oh no, I bought this years ago. Oh, but they have a hard time even saying thank you. Just a simple thank you
Right.
for a compliment. So that's one of the things I focus on, is also working a lot with women's groups, because women, I think, being the nurturers of society, but they also need to learn to fill their cup, and being fully full of love and full
Right.
of respect for themselves, then they can have more to give. But
Well,
first, you need
you
to be
can't.
completely full of yourself, of confidence, of love,
Yeah.
and light, so that you can continually have enough abundance to, to say, cup runneth over, and continue to flow it into other people's lives that you touch, and so forth. And that's very important to
Right.
have that balance between giving and receiving.
And
That's the nurturing,
nurturing, and that is so
nurturing self.
so true. And it starts with the self.
Right.
What
Self
you
love is
what you
key.
have inside of you is what you can be an expression of. You can't give more
Exactly.
outside of yourself than what you've given into yourself.
What you've given into yourself. Exactly.
So don't
That's an
kid
important
yourself.
component.
Yeah, because if you say you love someone else more than you love yourself, that's impossible.
That's
Totally
not
impossible,
balanced,
right?
basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what's no different than somebody says, "Hey, you got $100 I can borrow?" No, I have 80. Oh, I need 100. Well, I only got 80. Well, if you only got 80% love in here, you can't give 100% love either. Same difference, right? So
Exactly.
it goes
Exactly.
back to, as you said, may that cup runneth over. And there is an abundance of everything in the universe. There's abundance of fear, there's abundance of love, right? Which
Oh,
side of the fence
oh.
are you on? Which side of the fence you on?
Exactly.
This duality world. Actually wrote a book, Which Side of the Fence Are You On? It's all about duality.
Ah,
You know,
nice, nice. That must
yeah,
have been an interesting journey to talk about that.
yeah. It was. So, but you can't have both at the same time.
Right.
You can't be
You're,
sad and happy at the
right.
same time. It's
They're
one or the
just
other.
equal.
It's one or
Right.
the other.
Polarities.
Which choice?
The
Which side of the
polarity
fence?
of, right. And you need to choose, and you can easily switch
Right.
from one emotional experience to another by just, again, changing your thoughts. Your thoughts quickly change how you feel. So
Well, what
it's
did they say?
definitely,
We have billions of thoughts every single day, right? And then
mhm,
like 90% of those thoughts that you have the same ones daily. And that's what
daily,
that
exactly.
autopilot is, and it just goes. And those thoughts are in such a split second that you don't even realize it. It's like you don't
Exactly.
have to think to breathe, you
No,
know.
that's
You
an
don't have to think
autonomic
to move,
system. Yeah,
So,
that's on the autonomic system. So
yeah.
again, but you can be more conscious and aware of your breath. So that way, when you're getting excited and you're getting nervous and you're getting anxious about an experience, notice how your breath is fast.
Right.
And, then you need to actually make your breath calm down and focus on the awareness of your
Right.
breath. So that way, you actually can bring yourself into a place of centeredness. So I talk about that also in one of the chapters of my book, because I talk about breathing and how, like you said, it's so natural. We don't think about it. We
No,
take it
that
for
is so true.
granted.
But as you
And we
mentioned,
don't realize
breathing
how
is
powerful it
yeah.
is to actually balance your
It,
mind and your
oh,
body and your emotional state. So yeah, it's really, really important and key to having a healthy and balanced mind and body is to focus your
on your
awareness
breath.
on your breath.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's some
very important.
beautiful breath work out there, again, is when you slow, like you mentioned, you slow that breathing down, it
Hmm.
automatically brings a little peace to you and a calming effect,
Right.
and that's why you breathe in a paper bag, right?
Yes,
Because
for anxiety when you're in a plane, usually. But yes,
yeah,
that's, people think of it, like you said, only in moments of, great danger. But, you
right,
could do it on a regular basis to calm yourself on a daily basis whenever you're feeling those feelings coming up,
right,
of anger, which has happened many times a day, or the same thing, or sadness, also with the news that you're hearing and the things going on in the world that cause you to feel sad about things that are beyond your control. But you can, overcome that through your proper breath control. And that's something that I learned again through my yoga practice, that, having the proper breath control actually is what keeps your mind in a state of equanimity, which is basically in balance.
Right.
And that's so important to be able to have that, especially now that we're under stress every day by the news that's going on around us. So to keep our minds balanced and not, feel like you're spinning out of control is to focus your awareness on your breath. That's so key to keeping yourself calm. And it's a very simple thing to do by just practicing. Giving like an example, I just
Well, it's your lifeline. If you don't breathe,
out.
And
And I also suggest to people to do like a sound, to make a sound with the breath. So if they're breathing in and they're letting go,
right.
And as you make that ah sound, you're connecting with your heart. That's a sound for the heart. And that's so important to be able to connect the two between your mind, as you said earlier in your quote, to your heart. And that's actually what allows you to really connect the two components to be able to bring, calm and tranquility to your mind and your body. So I think if you just practice a few of those breaths at home when you're feeling yourself kind of losing control and becoming stressed, that's going to make a huge difference in how you react to circumstances and how you manage to control yourself so that you don't feel the stress taking over. Instead, you're more in control. And that's the whole idea. So I just wanted to share that with your audience so that way they have at least a little practical tip that they can use to help themselves now.
And two, I think, being aware of your breathing processing, are you a shallow breather, which 90% of the population is a shallow breather.
Absolutely.
Meaning
Yes.
they're just breathing from the upper lung here, from the chest,
Correct.
instead of
Correct.
from the diaphragm.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
So
yes.
just pay attention. Right now, pay attention. And you're
Yes.
breathing. Are you breathing here? Or are you breathing from the diaphragm? When you breathe
Right.
from the diaphragm is when you start to get oxygen in, and you have to take deeper, longer breaths to get the diaphragm to start moving, which also creates that automatic calmness that you just have congruently throughout the day consistently. Right?
Right.
So
And
be
it's
aware.
also one that's going to help you with other physical issues. Like I actually teach breathwork classes, so I've actually turned to doing them virtually, but now in the circumstances that we're in. But I was always doing classes a couple times a month where I teach people to actually, again, breathe throughout their whole body. So as you said, pushing it from the upper lungs to the lower lungs, because as you breathe lower and lower in your extremities, you actually are filling those spaces
Right.
with, life force and giving them more energy, more support. So a lot of people have digestive issues, elimination issues, and those kinds of things, or even particularly a lot of people have joint pains. And
Right.
so when you're experiencing all of that, it's actually from, lack of oxygenation in your body, in your cells, in your muscle tissues. The muscles that are in pain and inflammation is because they do not have enough
The oxygen.
hydration and
Yes.
oxygenation.
That's
So both of
so
those
true.
components are really what's affecting you.
And what's your body made up of, right? I got to get that
Yes.
fluid in there. And it's, when people, you drink water, water. Not
But
water
they're not
mixed with
measuring it.
anything else, right?
Right, just water, exactly.
Just
And
water. And
at least half your body weight. That's the
Right.
formula, is really half your body weight in ounces of, just as she said, just plain water, as opposed to a beverage of, any kind. That's better to just have water so that it cleanses, hydrates your body. You'll notice even too that your skin starts to look more vibrant and more healthy
right, exactly.
as you take in more water, and you'll have less pains in the joints of your body. So just try it. I always say to people, give it at least,
Right.
15 days or 21 days is the ideal number for changing a habit. But if you go through this process and try to be conscious of focusing your awareness on your breath, so proper oxygenation from your upper lungs going all the way down to your lower lungs and into your tummy, especially being belly breathers is really important.
Okay.
And then focusing on hydration, so that way you have at least half of your body weight as you drink those ounces of water every single day. And it seems like, oh my God, that's so much. But if you just substitute things that you're drinking now, instead of
Yeah.
having instead of having a beverage of some kind, like for lunch, an iced tea, or instead of having some soda, then drink water instead. And if you want to flavor your water with the natural fruits or or citrus, that's very good to do to make it flavorful. But I think that's the best thing to do,
Yeah.
so that you can really balance the hydration and oxygenation that you need to have a healthier body.
And I want to step back here a second on that breathing. You know, when you begin belly breathing, you'll find that your posture, your whole being is going to
Yeah.
kind of straighten
Opens
up,
up.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah,
and
exactly.
so your physical form starts to kind of like come out of this like bent over, cramped, whatever. You know, all of a sudden you're positioning different, and you know,
Absolutely.
so things can flow better because you need to have that structure, you
The
know.
structural alignment. Yes.
That is
absolutely.
good. And then drinking water as well. I do a lot of testing with people with a what's called body scan, and one of the things I see is their absorption or severe malabsorption, which means that the water that you're drinking or the fluids that you're drinking, you're putting them in, but they're not absorbing, and they're either laying around in pockets where you're just kind of holding on fluids, right, and that they're not going where it needs to go. One of the best things that you can do is you squeeze lemon or lime in your water, which
That's what I do,
changes
yes.
the structure.
Exactly. The molecular structure. Yeah.
So it makes water wetter, right, is what it does.
Exactly.
Meaning
Exactly.
that it opens up, when water is wetter, it can absorb. So what that citrus does is it opens that up so that it can, your cells are like sponges, and it can absorb that much easier, more readily. And when you just drink a warm lemon water before you eat, your digestion just takes over. It's just so much better for
Yes.
you. And
Yes.
you don't get that indigestion type of things going on. It starts the digestive processes, and the juices started coming, because you need digestive enzymes coming from the pancreas and from the liver and the gallbladder.
Right.
Right? And so
Yes.
you need those things. And if you're not getting that in there, then your food isn't properly digesting. But that
Right.
warm lemon water, just 3-4 ounces before you eat. Huge
And
difference.
it alkalizes.
Yes.
It creates this alkalinity, which is really, as you were just saying, what we need for the cells to absorb better the hydration that you're providing. But if your cells can't absorb it for one reason or another, there's the problem. So, but if you provide the proper, the citrus component that helps the cells manage to absorb it better, and that's going to help alkalinity in your body, which we all need to be more alkaline, so that we don't have those issues with digestion and absorption of our key minerals in our foods and so forth.
Right.
So that's really going to balance everything out, like she's saying, a lot easier in your body. So that's what I learned to do too.
Yeah, and it takes the oxygen with it. When you're drinking
Absolutely.
alkaline waters, you're taking oxygen into it, because again, the oxygen molecules can hang on to that altered water, shall we say, right?
Right,
And
exactly.
that we don't get naturally because of the ion charges, because of, there's a lot of processing that happens in our water systems, and there's just so many variables out there. But
Exactly.
these little tricks, and you
These
follow
little tricks
them.
help. They go a long way.
They do, and they're simple. They're simple, and
Exactly.
again, it's like you said, you build that habit. You get in that regiment to do that, right?
And something about, I'll say to the caffeine lovers, but I learned, I was a big caffeine fan, and I learned that actually the caffeine is dehydrating.
Yeah.
So the caffeine causes dehydration. So then whatever water you're intaking is actually not being absorbed, it's being lost, the moisture in your cells and so forth, because caffeine is really dehydrating to your tissues and to your stomach lining also. So it really causes a lot of damage. So the best thing is, to do teas. I've learned to do teas, and at first I was like, I don't know the flavor, but I actually now enjoy it, and I found that
your taste buds
so much better.
Yeah, everything
instead of drinking
shifts
this.
when your body starts
Exactly.
to detoxify. Right?
Exactly.
Right.
It's a huge difference. It's really a huge change to your body, but also mentally. I didn't think, I don't feel alert. I need that, that little caffeine boost to feel alert. But no, I'm okay with it. I found that there's a million varieties of teas to choose from, that you can find some that'll be appropriate, that'll give you a little boost, but yet they don't have caffeine in them. So those are the ones that you want to try out and see how you feel. Also, some specifically for digestive health and so forth. So herbs are like Mother's Nature's gift to us and giving us all the medicinal components we need through teas and different herbs that you could use with your meals.
Exactly.
So I think it's a time for experimentation.
You know, and carbonated drinks too. You know, you have to look at that carbonation.
No.
And if you're going to drink a carbonated drink, don't eat.
Right.
Because the carbonation stops the digestive processing.
Exactly.
Right? And so
I learned that a long time ago.
Don't mix
not
them.
a good mix.
Don't mix you know, don't drink carbonated drinks with food. And what is the number one thing that happens in America? Well, I'll have a burger and fries and a soda.
And a Coke.
You know, a carbonated drink. Boom.
Exactly.
Strike
like
one,
a time
strike
bomb.
two,
You
strike
said
three.
it, exactly. That's why people have so many digestive issues, as you just said, because of the mixture.
Yeah, and it neutralifies all your enzymes, right? And then indigestion shows up and all the other stuff. But I also want to make a mention too on distilled water. There's a lot of mention about, you know, drinking distilled water because they think it's more purifying and cleansing. When you're on a detox, great. Use your distilled water because it absorbs all inorganic matter. But you have to remember, inorganic matter isn't necessarily toxins. Inorganic matter is also minerals, vitamins, all your nutrition. So
things you need.
If you continuously drink distilled water for long extended periods of time, you're depleting your system of things that are necessary for it. So again, we talk about that balance, that harmony, right?
Exactly.
Too much of a good thing is not a good thing anymore,
It's
right?
not a good thing. Exactly. Exactly. Yes, and I've known people too that have detoxed too much and then they've lost too much weight and then they develop anemia or something, you know, along those lines. So you just have to, like you said, you need to carefully research it, talk to like a naturopathic doctor or someone that can guide you along those lines to do a cleanse in the correct way.
And you know, just be cautious. You know, again, it's the extremes. If your pendulum's way over here, it's not a good thing. If it's way over here, it's not a good thing. So it's like, where's my pendulum swinging? Let's bring it down here and get some balance, right?
Exactly.
And it's all about bringing harmony. Bringing the harmony. Where is the disharmony? Oh, it's clear over there. It's clear over there. Well, let's reel it in, right?
Exactly. Reel it in so that you can have balancing of all the components, mind, body, and spirit.
Exactly.
Definitely. I think that's so important.
Right. Michelle, if people want to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you? How do they find your book?
Okay. My book is on Amazon. It's called 7 Elements for Total Health. And I have a free report on my website. So another way to get a hold of me is on my website is www.healingheartsandminds.com. And on my website, on my homepage, is a link for a free strategy session if you'd like to talk a little bit more about how you can help yourself physically and mentally and emotionally. And also there's a, it's called 7 Simple Stress Stoppers. The URL is www.tinyurl.7 Stress Stoppers. And on my homepage, you can sign up for more information through my email list, and you could receive the free report there as well.
And they can find you on Facebook or all social medias by your name?
Yes, exactly, through my name on Facebook.
Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure having you here. A lot of great tips and information, kind of all over the charts, you know, from one extreme to the other, but it's all in alignment with what the physical body needs to do to perform from the mind to the heart to how you feel, right?
Exactly. Holistically. That's what I describe what I do. I work holistically with the person to help them balance, as you said, mind, body, and your emotional state, which I call your spiritual state.
Right. Well, thank you again for being here, Michelle, and it's a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. It's been a great pleasure, great fun, you know, bouncing ideas off each other and sharing mutual ideas as well.
That's right. We're all about what? Being that best you that
best
you can
be.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right. So it's time to say, everyone, go out there, be that best you that you can be today, because Michelle and I, we got it down to an art. we're being the best we that we can be.
That's
We'll
right.
see you
Every
all
day.
on the next
Thank
show.
you. Thank you very much. Bye.